Shalom friends, this is Rabbi Esther from a small sanctuary and it is great to be back. I've been away for a little bit because I've been dealing with travel and illness, but I'm good now and excited to share another video with you guys. So today's video is going to be all about Passover. And I'm going to do something a little bit counterintuitive. I'm not going to tell you how to prepare for Passover. I'm not going to talk about recipes or traditions. There's a plethora of resources that can help you figure that stuff out. What I want to do is to actually lower the temperature on the anxiety that many of us are feeling this time of year and talk a little bit about that. So let me start with a true story. When I was in rabbinical school, taking a class with a teacher about Jewish law and practices and observances, my teacher warned me, saying, even people who normally don't really get fazed about observance go meshugana, go a little bit crazy for Passover, and you will have to be a calming presence. And that's exactly right. His prediction was correct. Every year I see this again and again in the Jewish world, where people get very anxious and intense about Passover and all of the prep. And so I think what I can do best as a rabbi and a teacher of Torah, a teacher of Judaism, is, at least from the vantage point where I come from denominationally, is say, let's all relax and figure this stuff out together so that we can have Pesach with purpose, not pressure. Let's talk about the 3 E's. Why do people feel this amount of pressure and anxiety around Passover? 1 is aesthetics, hosting family and friends, wanting it to be festive and celebratory. 2 is expectations around transmitting Jewish values at one of the most widely observed Jewish holidays. And 3 is experience. Because this festival only comes around once a year, we kind of lose our groove with it. Shabbat comes every week. That helps us create a rhythm. But with Pesach, we have to review a lot of our traditions, our shopping lists, our practices, our customs, our family and friends networks, etc. And it means that we always feel a little bit behind. So putting these 3 E's at the center of our conversation is really helpful. Aesthetics, expectations, and experience. Now, what to do about it? First of all, I'm going to refer back to my videos that I have made about the Jewish dietary laws, because what applies more generally to the Jewish dietary laws also applies more specifically around the Jewish dietary laws for Passover, which, kind of like my vegan Shabbat, is like kashrut having its more intense kashrut, or its kosher keeping kosher. So a lot of the teaching that I've done around intentional and sacred restrictive eating and Judaism applies here too, including all the caveats. If you have a history of disordered eating, if you are struggling relating to food in a healthy way, I really encourage you to seek mental health support and medical support. Your life and well-being comes first. And there are organizations and initiatives like A Mitzvah to Eat that can help you navigate these fraught times when there is more scrutiny around food consumption because of the Jewish calendar. Having said that, let's go and look at a few core principles. Here are principles for purpose, not pressure. Number 1, you don't have to be extra frum or religious or observant 1 week a year. What I mean by that is that people who might otherwise not have a regular practice around the Jewish dietary laws or other areas of Jewish observance feel an increased pressure to be observant this time of year. Why is that? There are many explanations. I'm not going to go into that. Some of them are communal, some of them are based on the Torah's text, about what the sanctions are for eating leavened products, for eating chametz at this time of year. Some of them are about anxieties around preserving tradition, but it's really okay to sit this out. You do not have to catch up or makeup for whatever your practice may not address during the rest of the year by being super strict during Pesach. Take a step back and think about your overall observance, your overall practice of Judaism, and where you want it to be, and then grow your Pesach commitments or your Pesach leniencies out from that. Try and take a holistic view of the entirety of your purposeful Jewish life. Jewish life is not just about the peak moments, it's about the pacing that we apply throughout the year that feels comfortable and nourishing to us. Number 2, the Seder doesn't have to be perfect. In the time of Instagram, with glorious tablescapes and influencers and YouTube videos, and I'm a little guilty of it myself too, although I am not the world's most amazing tablescaper, I am here to remind you that the Seder is about the mitzvah of the Magid, of telling the story, not about the food, the napkins, the decor, the hosting, or anything else. Keep it as simple as you want to. It does not have to be perfect. And it's okay to use biodegradable or compostable paper plates or whatever it is that you need to use. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Cut yourself some slack. Number 3, abundance or affliction. Case for keeping it simple. I know there is a whole cottage industry around keeping kosher for Passover and getting everything lined up just right, but it's really okay to take a step back. My family and I actually use Passover to eat really simply. We try to get as much fresh produce as we can that doesn't need rabbinic supervision if that is your operative framework for observance. And so we really focus on fresh fruit and vegetables and eggs and dairy and meat and fish and matzah, of course, but I don't get kosher Pesach this, kosher Pesach that, kosher Pesach cereals, kosher Pesach whatever, and it really again lowers the temperature on what I need to stock up, and it is also better economically. This is the week in which I celebrate spring through simplicity, and the Seder plays with this dichotomy, this tension between affliction and abundance. Halachma anya, this is the bread of affliction. Is it though? When we are seated at a Roman-style symposium-like meal, celebrating and luxuriating in abundance and freedom. And that tension is really beautiful because it allows you to celebrate and contemplate at the same time. The affliction part allows you to contemplate on the messages of simplicity and freedom. And the abundance part allows you to celebrate with real unmitigated joy that we are no longer slaves in Egypt. 4, it's okay for kids to be a little bit bored at the Seder. This is a countercultural message because there is a plethora of resources out there where you can entertain kids. Coloring books, picture books, finger puppets depicting the plagues, craft boxes, and I think they're great tools. But if they become overwhelming, then they kind of defeat the purpose. So I will print out a few things and put some crayons out. But it's really okay for kids to observe and wander off. If they are unhappy staying at the table, dismiss them. What we are trying to do is layer many years of Jewish experiences for them, where each year they get to pull out a little more, a little more, a little more as they develop and as is age appropriate. Trust me, they will have beautiful memories of the Seder. And the more joyful and relaxed you can be, the more joyful and relaxed they will be. Number 5, you don't need to spend a lot of money. You really don't. There are all kinds of things that you can do to keep your costs down. It doesn't need to be a week that busts the bank. And it's okay to say we're going to take it easy this year. Number 6, your best is good enough. Dayenu already. It's already in the word. Dayenu. It is enough. Is it enough that you sit down with some takeout For all I know, at a 10-minute Seder, yes it is. Dayenu. Is it enough that you do the Seder but keep the food really simply? Dayenu. It is enough. Is it enough that you prepare a Seder and a nice meal, but you maybe serve it on your normal crockery or you don't turn your kitchen over? Dayenu. It is enough. Is it enough to do everything the traditional way, but maybe not bring in new recipes or scour recipe books for new inspiration to make it super gourmet? Dayenu. It is enough. Your presence at this beautiful, interactive, telling through history, this time travel machine that we get to board for those 1 or 2 nights, depending how you observe, a year, that is what matters. You being in this present moment to say, I am ready to be taken out of Mitzrayim, out of Egypt, Dayeinu. It is enough. Now that we've talked about this section, I actually want to move us in some reflections on how to make a purposeful Passover. You don't need to spring clean everything. Seek denominational guidance on how your denomination treats the issue of chametz. But speaking from a kind of conservative-ish halachic point of view, I can tell you that the schmutz and the crud in your house, the cobwebs and the moldy crumbs under the sofa or whatever it is, it's not chametz. You might want to clean it, you might not, but you don't have to. It is not chametz, and please consult your own local community rabbi about what you need to clean or not clean. But adopting a minimalist mindset that says, actually, I'm not going to overburden myself with all of the cleaning is really okay. Pesach can be a time for spring cleaning, and a lot of people find meaning in that, but it doesn't have to be. Control the number of Seder guests. It is up to you. Of course, sometimes it can get complicated with family commitments and friendship expectations. But last year, my family and I, we had 24 people at our Seder. It was quite a production and it was wonderful after the years of the pandemic. This year, we're a little tired and we're keeping it to 15. And that is really okay. Give yourself that permission to put yourself and your family's needs first. If you are alone, either because you're single or you're on your Jewish journey, converting to Judaism or new to Jewish practice or returning to Jewish practice, and you don't have a community or a family to celebrate Pesach with, reach out to your local synagogue. A lot of synagogues are really happy to help find you a place. You do not have to be alone and lonely and find yourself in isolation. On the other hand, if you are happy to celebrate alone, by all means, you can have an incredibly meaningful Seder for one person or even 2 people. Cook less, study the Haggadah more. Imagine you say, I'm actually not going to make this particular dish, but the 30 minutes that I would normally set aside for making that dish, I'm going to study a Haggadah of my choosing. There are so many commentaries and options around, and it's a wonderful resource. It is one of the most creative texts in all of the Jewish textual tradition, always being innovated, new commentaries being added, new insights, new illustrations, new graphic novels even. Take your time to center yourself on studying the Haggadah rather than all of the physical prep. Focus on the ethics. I don't decorate for Passover. I like decorating for fall, which captures Rosh Hashanah as well. That's just a whole seasonal thing for me. And I love decorating for Hanukkah. But I also know that Hanukkah is light on some of the other food-based preparations. I try to budget and reallocate my energy and my time. Hanukkah has simple foods. I can invest more time in decor. Passover has more complicated dietary needs, so I siphoned off my energy for that, but do not decorate. I ask my guests to bring me loads and loads of fresh flowers. For me, that signals the beginning of spring. It's a happy time and such a happy thing for me to have in my house. And lastly, my concluding thoughts. Find true meaning in the message of liberation and redemption for yourself and others in our world. Ultimately, it's the reason for the season, right? We tend to forget that a little bit in all of this prep, in all of these expectations for the dinner, the Seder, the Passover week. But at the end of the day, what's it about? What do you want to be liberated from in your personal Egypt, in your personal Mitzrayim? What's holding you back? What patterns of behavior? What notions of spirit? What circumstances in your life? Where do you want to go on this great journey through the wilderness towards your own redemption, to your own homecoming? What are the social justice causes that you care about in the world? What's upsetting you? What are the groups that you can identify that are powerless and that need our support and solidarity in the world? What's it like to be a stranger in a strange land? What's it like to be taken out of Egypt? What does it mean to sit in relative freedom and prosperity today and celebrate? What does it mean to live in a world of increasing instability and uncertainty today and sit with that? There are a million different directions that you can take Passover, and each of them is an inquiry straight into your soul and worthy of pursuing. Give yourself the time and the space to pursue the liberation of your own neshama, your own spirits, with joy and abundance and hope for the future, so that we can truly say Lashana Haba B'Yerushalayim, next year in our redeemed world. Wishing you a very kosher, if that applies, but certainly a freilige, a happy Pesach. Chag Pesach Sameach, my friends. With peace and blessings. Shalom uvracha. From my bayit to your bayit.